Hey everybody, welcome to We've Got the Beat, the podcast devoted to teen entertainment from the 80s and beyond. I'm your host, Michael, and Mindy's on the other side.
That was great, and fast, and wonderful.
It's almost a running gag that I fuck up every opening, but we've got, I think, 1 out of every 4 I get right.
I was thinking to myself, am I going to have to start taking over this intro?
Almost. All right, so this episode is a first for me. I think this is the first time that both movies are new to me.
I'm so proud of you.
Well, I mean, I knew how much you loved them, and I was like, well, I like the cast, I like the director. You know, I was like, look, just, okay, you know what, I'll give it a shot, and I'm really glad I didn't gonna back off this one. Because I think once before, I had suggested a movie that neither one of us had seen, and I watched it, and I was like, oh, this is shit, we can't do this. Well, do you remember what that was? It was like 6 months ago, I think. Something.
No, I don't remember.
It was something like, oh fuck, derail. Oh, no. It wasn't that long ago. It was Zoom. It was just like 3 episodes ago or something like that.
No, I mean, I've seen it before. I just hadn't seen it for a long time.
Yeah.
I didn't think that's what you meant, but...
I'm sure there's another one in there somewhere. But, Sister of the Traveling Pants. Tell me the difference in the books and the movies, because I'm curious.
Oh, I'm not really sure I could at this point, because it's been a very, 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 very long time since I've read the books. So I don't know.
How many books are there total? 4?
I think so. Although, admittedly, I've never read the last one because I think that it's about them as adults.
Okay, so is essentially...
But I think I should go back and read it because I heard that they're making a 3rd movie and maybe that's what it's going to be based on.
Yeah, it's. I just saw Ken Kwapis, the director of the first one, is doing the
He's going to direct it?
Yeah, the Sisterhood
Ooh.
Forever or something, or Sisterhood United. I can't remember now. Give me a sec. I'll look. Sisterhood Everlasting is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking after watching the movies again that, I should go back and read these books. I mean, I definitely think that they changed some of the relationship outcomes and things like that. A lot of the stuff in the second one, I don't even remember if it actually happens in the books. I'm not really sure. The first one, I think, is fairly close, but I couldn't tell you for sure.
So are the books supposed to take place each subsequent summer, or is there a time gap between them? Do you remember?
I do not remember, but I think that it's, like 1 per summer for 3 summers. Oh, fudge sauce.
Because what I'm curious is, I can imagine the first book and the first movie are really close together. It's probably the second movie, since it was 3 years later. And if the books are every summer afterwards, then of course they're going to have to collect up a lot of the books together, and then also add stuff so it all makes sense, because you're talking now, they're sophomores or something.
The second one was a much further leap from the books, if I remember correctly. But like I said, I mean, it's been so long since I read these books, so admittedly, I don't know.
I'm looking at Ken Kwapis, and you and I probably know him mostly from television because he did so many episodes of The Office. But I'm looking at his filmography of movies, and they're so all over the place. They're almost all comedies. But they're so...
You mean the Ken Kwapis or whatever?
Yeah, it goes... And now, you've never seen this movie, but it's really good. It's one of Andrew McCarthy's first movies called The Benecker Gang.
Okay.
Then he did Follow That Bird, which is... Okay, that's a Sesame Street movie. Then Vibes...
Dude, that was the first movie I ever saw in the movie theater.
It is not. It is not even
it
close.
Is.
No way is that! You went and saw E.T. with us. It was 1982, and you cried, and you were scared.
Well, how about that's the first movie I remember, because I don't remember going to the movie theater to see E.T. when I was 2 years old.
Now, are you talking strictly movie theater and not including the many times we went to the drive-in?
I am talking about specifically went to the drive-in, to the movie theater just for me.
Okay. Now, do you remember going to the drive-in before that?
I remember wearing my PJs and packing snacks in the cooler.
I was going to say, because I think we saw about 10 movies in the drive-in before Follow That Bird. But I'm going to go through my filmography because I wrote down every single movie we've ever saw in the theater.
Okay.
I want to see.
You remember those kinds of things much better than I do.
I
so
even remember the theaters we saw them in.
I really thought that was the first movie I saw in the movie theater.
I'll look it up, but it's not far off. But I know that there were some movies we saw before that, but most of them were the drive-in because that was just like a good, financial like decision. Oh, the whole family for $5? Okay, yeah.
It was if I recall correctly, it was my reward for not crying when I got my shots before going to kindergarten.
Oh, really? Okay, that's interesting.
In fact, it'd be fabricated since apparently I don't have the greatest memory. Anyway.
So Vibes was after that, which is a very goddamn boring sci-fi movie with Jeff Goldblum and Cyndi Lauper. He Said, She Said, Dunstan Checks In, The Beautician and the Beast, a couple movies I've never even heard of, then Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, License to Wed, He's Just Not That Into You, Big Miracle, and A Walk in the Woods. That's all over the place directorial. But his TV stuff is what shows me why they chose Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, because he worked with a lot of teenagers. By doing Erie, Indiana, he did a bunch of episodes of that, and Freaks and Geeks, Malcolm in the Middle, and Grounded for Life before he started doing the movies. He came back to film.
I had no idea he had all this stuff before, the TV things, and how, you're right, so bizarre and all over the place.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whatever it was, he must have proved something to the producers of this. What I'm surprised by is that this was written by one of the Efron sisters, and, that feels more in line with what she would have done, like Nora would have done.
That it was a book written by a woman, the movie was written by a woman, and it was directed by a man, which surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of strange. I mean, I guess if you look at his movie material before that, it wasn't like bro. Like, every once in a while you'll see a movie that's meant for girls, and you go, what? Like, Hunger Games was directed by Gary Ross. I'm like, I guess Pleasantville gives you that street cred, because it's fucking nothing else does. So the if you don't know anything about this, it's about a, in quotation marks, magical pair of pants, which aren't. They're almost, they think they're lucky, but I don't believe it is. It's just how life works. And she even mentions that in the second movie. It's like not necessarily actually magical. It's just that we wanted it to be so bad that we believed it was. And it's
called The Power of Magical Thinking, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the positive thinking. So it's sophomore year for these four girls who go in different directions, correct? And the pants are supposed to be what binds them for the summer, which honestly seems like a really silly idea to just mail these pants.
So silly.
Yeah, it's like these things.
But somehow, such a silly concept. I mean, that sounds so ridiculous saying it out loud. Somehow, though, like it's in the book and the movie, I think it's written really well in that it's really, it's really a story about, self-discovery and growing up and learning about yourself away from your friends for really the first time in your life. And these girls have been best friends since before birth, and they've been a group, and this is the first time they're apart, going through real challenges with this one special thing that binds them. But it's really not. It's just a symbol.
Yeah. Can you imagine someone pitching this now, and then some studio heads is going, so the pants don't actually give them, like, superhero powers? Like, they don't telekinetic or blasting fire? No.
Yeah, like, does it make it fly?
Well, can it just be a series on one of our streaming services then? Because we don't deal in those kind of character pieces.
It just amplifies their confidence. Okay.
Yeah. So we have Amber Tamplin's story is that she gets left behind to work her boring retail job where everybody goes off on some adventure, different levels of adventure. But I thought her story was actually the best, is that she deals with this neighborhood girl that they don't get along with at all in the beginning. Like, the little girl's purposely, like, taunting her. But also,
I know, she's just like a little pest.
yeah, but at the same time, Amber's kind of like, kind of a grumpy, almost borderline goth girl, like just miserable, and kind of makes her situation worse just because it's like she's more comfortable in misery.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, a good part of the story, too, is it's just like, your life can be interesting. You can have personal growth in different ways, I mean, that's the whole thing is, like, you don't have to go off to an exotic country to figure out who you are or
Right.
to have interesting life experiences, and that's what happens to her.
Well, and it's a lot, like, if I'm wrong, correct me, but she's shooting a movie, and I swear she calls it, like, The Losers. Like, it's all about these people whose lives are so, like, mediocre, and she films them, like, almost as if she's mocking them, like the kid who plays Dragon's Lair.
She's honestly kind of an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought they're going, that's what you were going to make the movie about? How did I not catch that before? That's really shitty.
Yeah, I think that she was focusing on, like, the mundane things in life and stuff like that, but I don't remember exactly if that's what it was called, but I wouldn't be surprised if that were true. Yeah, she's kind of a dick.
By the way, I became very fascinated by his Dragon's Lair playing because that's the one game. I've never seen that version. That's a newer version. But do you remember the old Dragon's Lair game where it was all animated and it was just like one button, which was move or sword or whatever it was? And you're not going to remember this. We used to go to the Holodome in downtown Fort Wayne, which people who are younger than us probably don't know what that is, but there were resorts in big cities called Holodomes, which is owned by Holiday Inn. But in the middle, they had a huge dome, and you had like pool and all sorts of like those kind of games, ping pong and stuff like that, and a giant pool to play in. Is
that where I went to quote unquote learn how to swim?
Yes. And
I do remember that.
And there was an arcade center next to it, which now that I think about it, having kids jump out of a wet pool to go play video games seems like a very hazardous thing to do. But we didn't actually stay there.
It was the 80s.
What's that?
It was the 80s.
Yeah. But we didn't actually stay at the hotel. We just bought like memberships to use the pool and just hang out in that area. It was weird. But that's the first time I had seen Dragon's Lair, and I was like, it's just an animated game? That's so weird because it wasn't like anything else. And to this day, I'm still fascinated by that concept. So when he was playing a whole different version, I was like, ooh, where's this? I got to go find this game and play it.
Yeah. Also, I think it was interesting that, like, the four girls all had television success, but at different times. So if I can remember correctly, when the first movie came out, it was Amber Tamlin and Alexis Bledel.
Right. What was hers Joan of Arcadia?
It was America Ferrera and Blake Lively.
Yeah. So Amber was on Joan of Arcadia for what, like 3 years?
I think it was 2, maybe 3 years, yeah.
It was one of those.
When this movie came out, the first year was so acclaimed, and she got nominated for all this stuff, and then it just sort of petered out.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just purely ratings or the story crumbled, and that's why it got pulled. And then, where were we in Gilmore Girls? Has it ended yet? Or are we still going for a couple more years?
I'm sorry, that's so funny. It was on for like 7 seasons in its original run, and then there was a one season 4-episode mini movies.
Oh, okay.
I guess it's been like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now on Netflix. I don't expect that they intend to ever continue it.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
That was just like for the fans. And
what? It was what?
It was for the fans, right? Like kind of like the way some shows just continue, not necessarily because of the ratings, because it has a solid fan base that they just want to say,
I
thank you.
think that the intent was 2 things. 1, for the fans, and 2, the creator of the show, Amy Sherwood Palladino, parted ways with the show after season 5. So the last 2 seasons, or maybe just the last very last season wasn't done by her, and it did not end the way that she wanted it to end. She always had a specific vision about how the show would end. So in coming back to it with Netflix, she was able to end it the exact way that she had always intended. So it was kind of for the creators and for the fans.
That sure seems to happen a lot. How many teen shows, especially teen shows, it seems like where the original creator is booted off, and then it just continues on, and then just falls apart because it didn't stick to the original vision.
I mean, it sure fell apart because it didn't have the same tone.
Yeah.
That she's very well known for. Anyway, and then by the time the second movie came around, then it was, I think, Ugly Betty was on and getting lots of acclaim, and whatever that shitty ass shit
Gossip Girl
Lively was in. God, that show was really bad, but it was really, really popular, at least, and it definitely in the early days. And now it's, popular enough that there's a new revival show on, like, HBO Max, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like this is like one of those moments where they weren't necessarily casting because these people were on hot shows, which is good.
It probably was a coincidence, but
no. What I'm saying is, you know how it was like 5 years before the first movie when we talked about it before, like when the WB was red fucking hot, and all of a sudden every movie had like 5 or 6 main cast members because they were on a popular teen show, either on like Fox or MTV or whatever. Yeah. This seems like it was, we're just going to look for the right people regardless of whether or not they're on a successful TV show or in a popular movie.
Yeah.
And that's why it works so well. So let's say back to the story. So then we have America Ferrera's story where she's going out to her dad's place, and she hasn't really seen him very much. He's been kind of disconnected, and that's a big sticking point. Not just because he doesn't communicate that, oh, look, I have a whole new family. Oh, and I'm getting remarried. It's just that he wasn't there for her.
Oh, yeah, they hardly ever see each other. But also, how could he wait until he shows up at his new home with his new family to tell her anything?
Like, how did he think that was going to be a good reaction?
How do you do that to a 16-year-old girl who thinks she's going to have a whole summer of undivided attention from her dad for the first time in her life?
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, look at this delicious meal. I spit in it. What?
And the way that she reacts feels so genuine. And also, I mean, personally, I can't blame her. I would have fucking done every single one of those things she did. I really do think I would.
And I honestly, her character is the best of both movies, and I think her performances. I think she's the best actress of the whole bunch.
Yes. I mean, she's, I think that before she was in this movie, she did do a few other things, including a movie that had quite a lot of acclaim, I think, was Real Women Have Curves.
Right.
Which may or may not have been based on a book, too, but I'm pretty sure that came a couple of years before this, and she really, although it's not, mainstreamly popular, I think really shows early on her enormous talent.
I think it's very strange that the director of that is the director of the last Halloween 3 trilogy. It's so weird to me.
Oh, that's strange. I didn't know that. I'm going to be honest and say, as much as I, was a fan of Gilmore Girls for much of my life, I really do think that Alexis Bledel is kind of a weak actress.
Yeah, her story is the flimsiest.
About her, it's not even necessarily her story, but I think that she just... There's something about her that doesn't feel natural with her delivery.
Well,
it's very stilted.
Her story is basically the same through both movies, and I'm not. It's not that interesting to me.
It's just a rehashed Romeo and Juliet crap.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing for Blake Lively. I think her story is a little bit more interesting in the second movie, but both their characters just don't have that connection. I feel like their characters are just kind of like flimsy, like Hallmark movie level difficulty.
Yeah.
What is even Blake Lively's story in the second movie? I can't even remember.
The second movie, she, so basically, they start early in the first movie where her mom died died, but then you find out later that it's like she was suffering from depression and mental illness and she killed herself. So in the second movie, she finds all these letters in the attic or the garage or something from her grandmother, who she doesn't remember ever meeting, and her dad had hidden them from her and kept her from having a relationship with the grandmother. So she ends up, she first starts out on some, archaeological dig in Turkey,
right.
which somehow compels her when, looking for, investigating these people's history and backstory inspires her to want to know more about her own personal history, so she goes to find her grandmother and spend time with her.
Yeah, that part's good, but I feel like that whole archaeological thing before that was also just like the way it was in the first movie with the soccer camp.
Yes.
And, the slightly older boy, I can't date. Like, it's just such there's nothing compelling about that.
It was just sort of a detour, which they should have just got to the good stuff.
Yeah.
It would have been better if she had been able to spend the whole time with her grandmother, because really it's just a couple scenes, and that's not really enough.
Yeah, I would say I do. Yeah, I was just thinking it's also the cast around them. It has to be interesting. Those characters. The only story in the first movie that really has a whole lot of pull is the little girl dying of leukemia, and then the challenges of Carmen's family, Bradley Whitford and Nancy Travis, whatever. And it's not that I think Carmen's just a little too sensitive to some of the things. Just because you didn't think of something like the dress doesn't mean that it was intended malicious or whatever. She's like, oh shit,
I think the reality of that, though, is that it was the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, but also that's a failure.
There was already so many things she was insecure about.
That's a failure on her dad's part for not telling his wife-to-be that...
Well, everything's a failure on her dad's part. He fucks up so many things that didn't need to be this way.
Does he ever play like a straight-up good guy? I always feel like he's... we mostly know him from the 80s as a smarmy piece of shit. But he always does seem kind of like a fast-talking dipshit or a fuck-up.
I think that he's always straddling two universes.
Mm-hmm. Lots of gray area.
He's never very straightforward, I don't think.
There's not a whole lot more I want to say. I do find the relationship, I don't know the kid's name, but he's the one that was in Perfect Score. Do you remember the movie where Chris Evans and
Mike Vogel, the soccer guy?
No, it's the kid playing Dragon's Lair.
Leonard Nam or something.
Yeah, he was in Perfect Score, and I remember we watched that. And we're like, that's the only dude in this, because we thought the movie sucked, if I remember correctly at the time. And we're like, that's the only dude that was actually funny in the whole thing.
I really like him. I think he's really he's done a lot of stuff, but I think that he is just kind of a character actor that just sort of doesn't get the love he deserves. I don't know. I
just thought he was really good in both movies, and it is kind of a shame that he didn't get a whole lot after that. I guess I looked at his IMDb and I'm wrong.
He's still working very heavily, my friend. I think a lot of TV, some voice work. But no, he's working a lot. I just saw him in a movie. He was in a 2021 movie with Jennifer. What's her name? Jennifer Garner, Edgar Ramirez. He's doing a lot of voice work. I think he's good. He's on 12 episodes of Westworld, Swamp Thing.
Oh, so he's doing fine. What am I talking about?
He's doing great. He had a couple episodes on The Flash. He's doing plenty, I think.
I don't know if we brought this up before, because I don't think we've done a movie with Blake Lively before, but did I ever tell you who Blake Lively's siblings are?
I know her sister's Robin Lively.
Okay, yeah, and her brother was the second Rusty in European Vacation.
Oh, I don't remember, but also the guy who's her dad in these movies is her dad.
Her real-life dad, really?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Oh, shit, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Everyone in her family is an actor, I think.
Huh.
But I knew the Robin Lively one the most because it's funny. I'm going to digress for just a second. Sorry. That Ryan Reynolds has a lot of things he's investing in, different companies and such.
Yeah. Mint Mobile.
And he's currently has the phone one or something.
Yeah. Mint Mobile.
Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Oh well, you kind of cut out, so I didn't hear. Sorry.
Okay.
But I think that relatively recently they did a promo commercial for it, and Robin did it with him, Robin and Ryan, and it was a family thing.
Okay, that's cool.
Family plan or something, but I don't remember how I knew that they were siblings, but I think I found that out a long time ago. But I don't know if I'm familiar enough with who her brother is. Eric?
Yeah, I mean he only did a few movies.
Anyway, yeah, they were I think their whole family is in the biz.
The sequel, I remember that there was a question of whether or not there would be a sequel because what it brought in, essentially, if you take out all the costs of promoting and what the theaters took, it basically broke even, but it did so well on video and then on HBO or whatever it was on that they decided to do a sequel, and it made just as much money as the first one. So I'm kind of surprised they didn't bother to do the third one immediately, or was there just not enough story? Because like I said, I've never read the books, and I don't know if you read all of them, but was there much story after their college years?
No, there was a book. There was a book released. I think I said there was a book released about their adult years, but I think it came much later.
Oh, okay, so that explains why there wasn't a third. Because I thought they were
That
supposed to.
That doesn't stop people from making sequels.
That's true.
I mean, they could have just gone off the rails and made their own story.
Yeah, I mean, fucking Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones didn't wait around for him to finish those books, which I still don't know if he actually finished those books. They was well, we're gonna make our own story.
My thought is that he will never finish the book series because what's the point now?
Yeah, true.
The show made up how they wanted it to end, and does anybody care now what he thinks? Because either they're going to compare it, or they're going to compare it in a negative way, or I don't know. I don't think that there's any chance in hell we're ever going to see a conclusion to those. So, but whatever. I don't know.
All right, I'm going to. I have the IMDb in front of me. I'm going to attempt to actually say the characters' names instead of the actors' names for once. So, in
Tibby, Lena. I forget.
Yeah, it's Tibby, Lena, Carmen, and Bridget. Tibby's story is that she's now a film student at NYU, and I was actually pleased that they sidestepped any filming. I didn't want to repeat what happened in the first movie, and then the scare of pregnancy and the sheer weight of what she has on her shoulders. And I think it's a realistic reaction. It's a shitty reaction, but it's a realistic reaction that she gives to her boyfriend. So
I wanted you to know that the reality is that the second movie is based on the fourth book.
Oh, okay.
Forever in Blue, the fourth summer of the Sisterhood is what the second movie is based on. So there's actually 4 movies of them as teenage college students, and I guess a 5th one was published in 2011, and that must be the one where they're adults.
Okay.
That I have not read.
Yeah. We already did Bridget's story, which I thought was pretty... Yeah, like you said, I wish it was more with her grandmother, because I didn't care about the first part. The Lena's story is almost the same exact fucking story as the first movie, except there's a part where she's in class. Though, by the way, I was not expecting the guy to be nude, and her reaction fucking kills me.
I know. She is so good at being awkward.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But I don't think she's acting. I think that's just how she is.
When she tried to act tough in Sin City, I didn't buy a fucking second of it.
Oh God, no.
And then,
I'm sorry, she's just not a good actress.
and Carmen's story again is the most compelling. This time it starts off kind of generic. You don't think it's going to go where it's going to go, but so she's like a production assistant or behind the scenes on a play in New York, right?
I mean, I think it's in the Catskills. It's some kind of like summer stock kind of thing.
And she ends up getting the lead performance in a play. And if you think that a person that works behind the scenes can't get the lead role in a play, yours truly did. Unintentionally.
Magic happens every day.
Did you see that? You saw that play, right?
Of course I did.
Could you tell me, was I any good? I'm wondering after 24 years, 25?
You were good.
Thanks. I couldn't remember. I was so panicked the whole time. I didn't know if I was good. I was just like, just survive. Just survive.
I kind of remember you panicking a lot on the stage too, but I thought that was just part of your...
It is part of the character. The nice part is that my character was extremely high-strung, panic-stricken screamer. And
so basically it was you.
Yeah. I am balding. I was supposed to play much older than I really was, but it helped my hair was falling out. The only time I've been glad my hair was falling out. But she ends up being the lead in the play, and I thought that her dynamic with Rachel Nichols, who was a thing for a moment. People don't maybe not remember. She was in the first G.I. Joe movie and P2 and Conan the Barbarian, and then disappeared.
She was in a lot of stuff. She was in the last couple seasons of Alias.
Oh,
P2.
that was her.
Really fucked up movie.
What's that?
That really fucked with me. So, P2 really fucked with me.
Yeah. I thought that she was really convincing at this conniving, manipulative.
Yes, absolutely.
It was a really good performance for her. And that's the one that's the most compelling. And we got Kyle MacLachlan too, who was a lot of fun. He's like, when he tells her, again, you're not doing this right. What I was hoping, if he's really an acting teacher or acting director, I think he should be smart enough to know to take a minute off stage and ask her what's going on instead of telling her to do it again and again and again. Because he's clearly not getting anywhere, and that's really stupid direction.
Well, but if you're a narcissist and have a background in theatrics, you're not really known for being compassionate or patient.
I guess.
You just want results. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he should have been smarter than that. But, really, she did a very, very good job of fucking with her in a really subtle way. And it's like, she's basically gaslighting her. And it was just like, a girl to do that to another girl is so sad, but it's pretty normal.
I'm trying to figure out, Carmen's mother in this is Rachel Ticotin, or Ticotin or something. I don't know how you say her name.
I've never known how to pronounce it. I was a little bit disappointed that they had such a good actress have such a small part.
Well, at this time, she really wasn't acting that much. She was never a star, but she did a few movies where she had some serious, big-time exposure. But I'm also curious how old she was supposed to be to have a baby that age. So that's 2008. She was 50. That's pushing it. But most people probably know her from Total Recall, Falling Down, Con Air. I thought that she was really good in her. I think it's her first movie, and I'm sure you've never seen it, but it's a Paul Newman movie that I just watched from 1981 called Fort Apache, The Bronx. And she's a heroin addict nurse who Paul Newman's in love with. And she gives a devastating performance, and I'm kind of shocked that she didn't blow up after that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a shame. But, she was one of the first, legitimately convincing tough girls on film. And I kind of wish that we would champion her like the way we do with Linda Hamilton and Sigourney Weaver.
Well, there's only so much room. You can't be nice to very many old ladies.
If you do, it's woke.
That wasn't... Did I not sound bitter enough when I said that?
Yeah. All right. So, anything else you want to say about these movies before we go?
You know, I think one of the differences I remember from this movie, I don't remember her getting back with Costas in the book. And also the Leo guy, the model guy, basically like seduces her into having just like a totally like a huge fling, but he was one of those players that was like going out with everybody and ended up kind of making her feel like trash.
Yeah, I see. Here's the weird thing: I must have not.
They kept it a little more innocent here, which is probably a good idea.
Yeah, I missed whatever. It was, no, are you telling me that was in the book or the movie where he was a player?
I'm pretty sure that that's how it went in the book.
Okay, because see, all of a sudden I'm like, wait. She just threw away this guy that she spends the whole first half of the movie with to go to Greece? Now,
yeah,
what the
they
fuck?
basically they just drop it and there's nothing.
That seems like a dick move, right?
Some of it's like, why did you even bother bringing this in if you're not gonna like wrap it up properly? Like how she just runs away from, or just like ditches the guy, never mentions him again. But also the whole thing about being in Turkey, that just, you know, it just all, a few of the plot lines seemed really pointless, and that's really what I was saying was like I have a few issues with the story, and it's not the appropriateness or, oh, this would be offensive now, but I just think that there's some plot hole.
Yeah, something either got edited out.
Quite right.
Something got edited out after production or was taken out of the script.
Yeah, loose ends. Yeah, and I don't know.
Wait, hold on. Do we find out whether or not Amber Tamlin's character was pregnant or not?
Yes.
She was pregnant.
No.
Wait. Okay.
You said, did we find out? And I said, yes, we find out whether or not she's pregnant.
I remember.
And she's not.
She had.
Why did you watch this movie?
I did watch this movie. I have a short attention span and a terrible memory.
I know. I said, when did you watch it?
Yesterday.
What the fuck's wrong with you?
I don't know. Lots.
Listen, so the person who was closest to her, like physically, was Lena. So Lena called her because she was dodging everyone and being shifty and evasive to everyone. And so Lena said, I'm coming to you. What do you need? And she said, a pregnancy test. So she shows up at her door with a pregnancy test, and she said, guess what showed up right before you did for period.
Oh, see, I remember her asking about the pregnancy test. But then I must have missed the next part. Yeah,
she never ended up taking it because for period, she got a period.
Okay. That's embarrassing that I couldn't remember that when I saw it 24 hours ago.
I mean, it was a very quick scene, but I mean, whether or not she was pregnant is a pretty big plot point here for you to not pay attention to.
Not ashamed whatsoever. Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I have you here, to keep me in line in some way.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're gonna do. There is, like I said, there is actually there's must be one book for like, it must have started when they were like 16 and then this was number 4 book, and then there's a 5th book that came out several years later where they're like adults way later on. But I read a little bit of the description. I don't think I want to read it.
Oh.
And I don't know if that's where they're going to go with the story, but it sounds really
not what you're looking for.
I don't want to have sad. It sounds kind of sad.
Yeah. Well, that sucks.
I don't know, dude.
All right, so that is it for this episode. Check us out where you check us out. And say goodbye, I guess.